welcome to this practice that is all about releasing tension and the breathing muscle, the diaphragm, and also our accessory muscles up through the shoulders and the neck, so that hopefully by the end of this practice your breath should feel easeful, full, and shoulders, neck, etc. feeling really relaxed. So you're going to need either a squishy ball or a tennis ball, or could actually just be a pair of rolled up socks. A block would be handy, a blanket or a pillow for the head, and a chair. So get yourself sorted. You can move the props out of the way to begin with, and we'll start just with a body scan. So if you lay yourself down on your back, legs out long unless that's uncomfortable, in which case you can bend your knees and just place the feet on the floor. And you might take a couple of deeper sighs out the mouth just to kind of really land here. And then starting down at your heels, just notice the weight of your heels resting on the floor, and whether you feel into one foot more than the other. Perhaps one foot feels more turned out than the other. And notice through the calf muscles, the surface area contacting the floor. Again, if one leg feels a little more rolled out, maybe you just feel into one leg a little more. Notice through the backs of the knees, the space between the knees and the floor. And notice your upper thighs and the tension in the front and the back of the thighs, the turnout of the legs. Notice through your pelvis whether the weight feels symmetrical or if you feel like you're favoring or leaning to one side. And do the buttock muscles feel relaxed or maybe slightly contracted? Notice the space between your lower back and the floor, and the muscles in your lower back, and whether they feel relaxed, soft, or maybe a little tight. And notice through your upper back, your shoulder blades, the weight of the shoulders. Does one shoulder sit a little higher or lower, more forward or back? Notice the roll of the arms and the curl of your fingers. Do you feel into one arm a little more than the other? Notice the space between your neck and the floor and the weight of your head on the floor. And notice the quality of your breath right now. And does it feel deep or shallow, fast or slow, smooth or a little bit jagged or forced? And where do you feel it the most? The throat, the upper chest, the belly, the front or the back? And once you've got this observation of how the body feels right now, it's like take a little mental snapshot, a little picture, and keep it in your mind's eye so that we can keep coming back to this throughout the practice to check in with how things have changed and shifted. And then roll yourself over and grab your squishy ball or your socks, whatever you're using. And we're going to focus on just the left side rib cage. So we're starting from roughly around the center, but right where the ribs attach to the diaphragm and all the way around to the outside. We're going to be applying a little bit of pressure with the ball. So you'll lay yourself down on your belly. And just on the left side, the ball is going to go underneath the ribs, so that your diaphragm has to push against the ball in order to work. You can stay up on your forearms or rest your forehead in your hands. And what you'll do is breathe into the ball. And as you exhale, try and let the ball sink a little deeper. As you breathe in, try and press the ball out. And as you breathe out, let the ball sink deeper. And it may feel a little bit uncomfortable.
For a lot of us, there is a lot of tension that we carry in the diaphragm. The diaphragm is not only our breathing muscle, but it's also this muscle of emotion. It's how we produce our emotion. If you think about how we sob, how we laugh, how we cry, it's all generated from movement in the diaphragm. It also becomes a postural muscle once we stand and move around. Sometimes our posture can be affecting our breathing, or it could be our breathing affecting our posture. And one more breath on this spot. And then just move the ball out slightly, just to another spot on that left side. And then same thing, try and breathe into the ball. And then let the ball sink in deeper as you exhale. Notice how when you breathe into the ball, it's also bringing more of that awareness or breath into the back body. And move the ball out a little further. It might not be as sensational as we move out further, or for some of you it might be more sensational. So just kind of observing sensation along that diaphragm, the part where it connects to the ribs, where you feel greater sensation, perhaps greater amounts of tension. You might even sense some a little bit of release happening into the low back. And just carefully roll yourself onto your right hand side and grab your cushion or your towel, whatever you're using, just as a little pillow for the head. Could even be your block if you like. Draw your knees in so that the knees are stacked and the hips are stacked and your shoulders are in line with your hips. And then bring your left hand right up on top of the ribs, so not down by the waist, but right up on the rib cage. And as you breathe in, fill into your hand, so the ribs expand towards the sky. And as you breathe out, press down with your hand. So you're squishing the ribs down towards the floor. And then breath in, fill into your hand. And breath out, squish down. And then just keep going with this. Just really noticing how much the ribs can move laterally. Ideally, with the breath, we want to get a three-dimensional expansion. So front to back, side to side. And often we're very good at the upper part of the chest, not so good at getting the lateral ribs and the back body to move. Now the next time that you exhale, press down with your hand and hold that pressure down. And then try and send the breath into the back body and the underneath ribs a little more. Notice what that feels like. And then breathe in, fill back into your hand. Bring the arm alongside you, as resting the fingertips towards the heels. And as you breathe in, slide your shoulder up towards your ear. So we'll start to release some of that tension in the trapezius. And then reach your fingertips away as you slide the shoulder away from the ear. Breathing in, nice and slowly shrug the shoulder up. And breathing out, slide the shoulder away. Breathing in, slide the shoulder up. And breathing out, slide the shoulder away. One more like this. Right. Really feel into all of the parts of the motion. So notice where it gets a little bit jittery or jumpy. And then just rest the shoulder back into a neutral position. Now the front of your chest is going to draw the shoulder forward as you breathe in. And then just rest it back in that neutral position as you exhale. Front of the chest draws the shoulder forward as you breathe in. And then rest it back to the neutral position. Just be careful that you don't hike the shoulder up. Draw the shoulder forward. Notice if it gets a little jittery or jumpy. And then shoulder back. Now the shoulder blade is going to draw the shoulder towards the spine. And then rest it back in that neutral position. And again, check out that the shoulder doesn't lift up. Roll the shoulder back, shoulder blade draws towards the spine. And then shoulder comes back to that neutral position. Shoulder blade towards the spine. Shoulder back to neutral. Combining the two now, so as you inhale, bring the shoulder forward. And as you exhale, shoulder blade takes the shoulder back. As you breathe in, front of the chest rather, brings the shoulder forward. And as you breathe out, nice and slowly taking the shoulder back, using that squeeze of the shoulder blade towards the spine. And then one more like that. Make sure the rest of the arm is just relaxed and floppy. Just working into the shoulder blade, the front of the chest. Good. And then roll the shoulder forward. Draw the shoulder up towards your ear. And again, make the rest of the arm floppy. Roll the shoulder back. Think shoulder blade towards the spine. And then reach the fingertips away to take the shoulder away from the ear. Roll the shoulder forward. All the way up towards your ear. Roll the shoulder back. And then the shoulder blade moves away. Shoulder forward. Shoulder up. Notice where it gets a little jittery. Shoulder back and shoulder away. Now moving backwards, up towards your ear. Roll the shoulder forwards and then shoulder slides away. And then try that 2 more times, just moving with your own breath rhythm, trying to keep the rest of the arm relaxed and really noticing where through that arc of movement you perhaps don't have as good a control or it gets a little bit jittery, either with the movement or your breath. Maybe you start to hold the breath even. And once you've done your 2 on your own, just rolling onto your back, going back into that beginning position, and just check in with the body and notice the sides of the body and if they feel any different. Notice how the breath feels on the left-hand side versus the right.
And notice if that whole left side of the body perhaps sits a little lighter or closer to the floor. Maybe it feels longer or softer. Just noticing anything that feels different. And then we'll take that on the other side. So ball is going to go underneath the right side ribs this time. We'll start in that kind of center position and then slowly move out. So lie yourself down, get the ball into position. Either stay up on your elbows or rest your forehead in your hands. And then see if you can let your belly, your diaphragm, breathe the ball out. And then let the ball sink in as you exhale. Notice how it feels on this side compared to the other side. Notice the quality of your breath. And then move the ball out a little. And same thing, just noticing how it feels in that slightly more lateral position. And again, noticing the movement of the ball as it gets pressed out and then sinks in. Perhaps noticing where you feel the breath in the back body. And it starts to feel like it's releasing a little. And you can move the ball out a little further. You're welcome to pause the video if you need a little bit longer on any spot as well. Or if you want to go back and revisit a spot. Good, and then move the ball out. Come to lie on your left side. Draw your knees in and just check that your shoulders are stacked over your hips. Place your right hand on top of the rib cage and then start to breathe into your hand. Use the exhale to press down with the hand. So we're providing this proprioceptive feedback for the nervous system to remind the nervous system where we want the breath to go and how the ribs can actually move. Often we get so used to using our accessory muscles that the ribs are barely moving.
exhale, press down and hold that pressure down and try and send the breath into the back body, the underneath ribs. Noticing how you can direct your awareness. Breathing in, fill back into your hand. And release the arm alongside you. And as you breathe in, slide the shoulder up towards your ear. And as you breathe out, slide the shoulder away, reach the fingertips away. Remember, the arm is soft. As you breathe in, slide the shoulder up towards your ear. And as you breathe out, slide the shoulder away, and really paying attention to where it gets a little bit jumpy. Breathing in, slide the shoulder up. And breathing out, slide the shoulder away. One more of these. And just resting the shoulder in that neutral position. Now the front of the chest is going to draw the shoulder forward as you breathe in. And then you'll relax back to the neutral position as you breathe out. Front of the chest brings the shoulder forward. And then relaxing back to a neutral position. Breathing in, draw it forward. And breathing out, it rolls back. Now shoulder blade draws the shoulder back, so think shoulder blade towards the spine. And then let the shoulder come back to that neutral position. Shoulder blade draws the shoulder towards the spine. And then shoulder back to the neutral position. Shoulder blade draws it towards the spine. And then back to neutral. Combining the two now, so as you inhale, shoulder rolls forward. And as you exhale, the shoulder rolls back, shoulder blade towards the spine. So you'll notice the arm also kind of rolls in and out. As you breathe in, shoulder rolls forward, the arm kind of rolls in. And as you breathe out, the shoulder blade takes the arm back and the shoulder rolls out. Careful that the shoulder doesn't lift up. One more of these. Roll it forward. And roll it back. Roll the shoulder forward. Draw the shoulder up towards your ear. Roll your shoulder back. And then slide the shoulder away. Roll the shoulder forward. All the way up to your ear. Roll the shoulder back and slide the shoulder away. One more in this direction. And again, just notice where through that arc of motion it gets a bit jumpy, a little bit harder for you to move smooth. Good, now reverse the circle. So going backwards with the shoulder first, up towards your ear, slowly forward. And then reach it away. Shoulder rolls back. Shoulder goes up. Shoulder rolls forward and reaches away. One more like that, rolling back. Up to your ear. Roll it forward and reach away. And then once you've finished, rolling back onto your back again, taking again that check-in with the legs out long to see how the body feels. Notice the turnout of the legs, maybe that's changed. Notice the space between your low back and the floor, perhaps that's changed. Notice how the shoulders are sitting. Notice the quality of the breath. And then bend your knees, place your feet on the floor. Bring the feet together and then separate the feet about a fist width, so not too wide. Arms alongside the body. As you breathe in, tilt your tailbone down so the lower back will arch away from the floor. That's what we call lumbar extension. And then as you breathe out, roll the tailbone the opposite way. Keep the pelvis on the floor, but think of the hips and the pelvis, the frontal hip points and the ribs coming towards each other. Breathing in, tilt the tailbone down and arch your lower back away from the floor. And breathing out, the frontal hip points and the ribs come towards each other, which squishes your lower back into the floor. Breathing in, fill into the belly to slowly release into your arch. And breathing out, slowly into the flatten. As slowly as you can. As you breathe in, try and keep your back in contact with the floor for as long as you can before you go into the arch. And into the flatter, nice and slowly rolling the pelvis, seeing if you can imprint each part of the vertebrae one by one. Breathing in, tilt the tailbone down and arch. This time roll your arm bones out. So you're going onto the thumb side of the hand and the knees will fall open. So you're on the pinky side of the feet. And don't move the feet though. And then exhale, roll the arm bones in, squish your lower back onto the floor. Knees come together and the backs of the hands are coming towards your thighs. You're really internally rotating the arms. Breathing in slowly into the arch, tilt the tailbone down, roll the arm bones out, knees open. And then slowly into the flatten as you exhale, rolling the arm bones in, knees together. Good, keep going with this on your own. Again, slow motion, releasing into each position. And really feeling that roll of the arms, the movement of the legs in conjunction with the spine. So all of this is helping to release the tension in the front and the back body. And bringing us into the position of inhalation and the position of exhalation, which helps to bring a fuller, deeper breath. Good. Complete the one that you were on. And then you'll just rest back in a neutral position with the spine. And just noticing the body. And then slide your left leg out long on the floor. So this time combining that pelvic movement with a little bit of a side crunch and a leg motion so that we start to release some of the tension through the muscles that also feed into the diaphragm. So as you breathe in, tilt your tailbone down and arch the spine away from the floor again. Breathing out, just softly return back to a neutral position, slowly as you can. Breathing in, keep the right foot on the floor, but try and slide your right hip up the mat towards your right shoulder. And so you're side crunching in that right side. And then slide the right hip back down. Right knee goes across towards your left leg, but the foot stays on the floor. You're just bringing more weight to the big toe side of the foot. And then the knee comes back to face the sky. Breathing in, tilt the tailbone down, arch away from the floor. Breathing out, returning to a neutral position, nice and smoothly. Breathing in, slide your right hip up, reach through your left leg. And breathing out, slide your right hip back down. Breathing in, right knee goes across to your left leg. And then the knee faces the sky again. One more round, tilt the tailbone down and arch. How smoothly can you move into that neutral position? Nice and smoothly slide the hip up. Reach through the left leg. And then smoothly sliding the hip down. Notice where it gets jumpy. Right knee goes across the midline. And then knee faces the sky. This time as you breathe in, let your knee fall open so you're rolling to the pinky toe side of the foot. And again, foot doesn't move, you're just rolling onto the outside. And then exhale, knee faces the sky, rolling the foot back to the floor. As you breathe in, roll the foot open, knee falls open. Again, look for those moments where it gets jittery and jumpy. See if you can smooth those out as you bring the knee back to face the sky. Breathing in, open the knee. Breathing out, knee faces the sky. As you breathe in, knee goes across to your long leg. And as you breathe out, knee opens to the pinky toe side. Breathing in, go all the way across to your long leg. And breathing out, open to the pinky toe side, really mindful of the movement. One more, noticing how the foot, the knee, and the hip connect and interrelate to one another. Open the knee out to the side and then slide your leg out long. And again, take a little notice of how the right side of your body is feeling, the right leg, right hip, the right lower back, even maybe the right rib cage. The quality of the breath. And then bend your left leg and stand it on the floor. Breathing in, tilt your tailbone down to arch the lower back away from the floor. Breathing out, return to a neutral position. Breathing in, slide your hip up, so keep the foot in contact with the floor. Just side crunch into the left side waist. And then slide the hip back down. Draw your left knee across to your long leg, rolling to the big toe side, but the foot is still on the floor. And then knee faces the ceiling again. Breathing in, tilt the tailbone down to arch. Breathing out, returning to a neutral position. Slide the hip up, trying to keep the back and the hip in contact with the floor. Slide your hip back down. Knee goes across the midline. And then knee faces the sky. Tilt the tailbone down and arch. Return back to a neutral position. Slide the hip up as you reach through your right leg. Exhale as you slide the hip back to that neutral position. Left knee goes across to your long leg. And then bring the knee back to face the sky. As you breathe in, roll to the pinky toe side of the foot, so the knee falls open. And then roll the foot back to the floor, knee faces the sky. Inhale as you open the leg. Exhale as you close the leg, paying attention to how the foot, the knee, and the hip relate. Opening. And closing. Breathing in, roll to the big toe side, knee falls in. Breathing out, opening to the pinky toe side. Breathing in, knee goes across to the big toe side. Breathing out, knee opens to the pinky toe side. One more round, paying really close attention to all of that micro movement, where it might feel a little bit unsteady or jittery. Once the knee is open, slide your leg out long, and again, just noticing the sides of the body, noticing the breath. And grab your block And bring the block behind the base of the skull so that the occiput is just resting on the block. And relax as much of your weight into the block as you can. And then just gently roll your head all the way over to the right as far as you can. And then come back just maybe a quarter of the way. And you'll find kind of a knobbly, ridgy bit, might even feel a little bit tender. And just kind of rest the weight there. See if you can slow down your exhalation. Just releasing these muscles that feed into the base of the skull, some of which are also accessory muscles. But also when we are using too much of the accessory muscles, we end up with forward head tilt. So the trapezius and the levator scapula have to work that much harder to hold our head up. Good, moving back about halfway to your head being straight. And again, just resting on a bit that feels lumpy or a little bit tender. You can even play with doing really tiny micro circles of the head on that spot, as if you had a pencil on your nose and you were just drawing a really tiny circle on a piece of paper in front of your nose. And then bring the head back to the center and roll the head all the way over to the left. And then come back about quarter of the way, find a bit that feels tender or knobbly and rest the weight there. Slow down your exhalation. And maybe do those little tiny baby circles. And the circles so small that they're really hard to see. And come back about halfway. And same thing, find a spot that feels a little bit tender. Try and lengthen out your exhale. A lot of our cranial nerves also feed out from the base of the skull, so this is a great way of inducing a parasympathetic response. So the rest and digest phase of the nervous system. Relaxation. Okay, little baby circles. And then bringing the head back to the center. And just carefully releasing the block. Rest the head on the floor for a moment and just kind of notice the space now between the head and the floor. And whether that whole upper back, neck area feels any different to when you first lay down. And once you've made that observation, just very, very carefully roll yourself to one side so that you can bring your chair onto your mat. And you're going to bring your feet up onto your chair, And grab your blanket and have that underneath your head and your neck. You may need to create a slightly bigger roll underneath the neck so that you feel really supported through that whole area. And then once you're in position, just very lightly curl the tailbone ever so slightly towards your face. So it's just a very, very tiny micro movement. You'll feel a slight feeling of the low back getting closer to the floor, but you're not actively squishing. I'm not using my abdominal muscles really strongly. It's just a really subtle motion through the pelvis. So what we're doing is bringing the ribs and the pelvis more into what we call the zone of apposition. In this last part, we're going to do a couple of pranayama techniques to release any residing tension in the diaphragm. So the first one is going to be a double exhalation. So just a normal breath in, normal breath out, and then exhale again. Pull the belly firmly in as you exhale again. Normal breath in. Normal breath out. Exhale again. So that second exhale you're trying to do without breathing in again so that we can get rid of any tension in that last bit of the diaphragm and also the accessory muscles. Take a breath in. Exhale. Exhale again. Inhale. Exhale. Exhale again. Normal breath in. Exhale. Exhale again. And then just let the breath return to normal. Notice the quality of the breath now. Perhaps it feels fuller, more expansive. Maybe there's less restriction or force. This next breathing technique, there'll be a pause at the top of the breath and then a long exhalation. It's to increase the nitric oxide in the system, which also helps to vasodilate the blood vessels, lower blood pressure and the heart rate. So if the ratio that I'm suggesting doesn't feel good for you, just create a ratio that does work for you. Or you can drop it all together and just rest here and create mindfulness of breath, just really following each breath. If you'd like to join me, you'll exhale the breath out and inhale. Pause. Long exhale. 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 One more inhale. Pause. Long exhale. And again, just letting the breath return to normal. Noticing the quality of the breath now. And in particular, how it feels in comparison to when you first lay down. Does it feel a little softer, more even, perhaps smoother, less force, maybe fuller? Or it could even feel more subtle, more quiet, more easeful. Just noticing anything that feels different. Noticing how the body is feeling. I'm going to rest here for a few more minutes just to really induce that relaxation response in the body. As the body relaxes more deeply, just noticing how that affects your breath. You're welcome to stay here if you would like. If you do need to get on with the rest of your day, just very, very carefully taking your feet off the chair and rolling onto your side. And just spending a good amount of time on your side, maybe 5 to 10 breaths before you slowly press up. And just take your time. And have a beautiful day. Namaste.